Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of The Wild Darkness. Today we're doing another tier list. This time we're gonna be doing the compact totems. Once again, these are my criteria for evaluating what or on which tier each totem should be placed on. So let's jump right into it. To start, I actually looked through all the totems and their effects, and I couldn't find any totem that would fit into the F or E tier, so we're gonna jump right ahead into D tier. Our first totem in D tier would be the Courageous Totem. The Courageous Totem will increase the damage of two-handed weapons. This includes two-handed swords and two-handed blunt weapons only, by a small percent. The reason why I put the Courageous Totem into D tier is because the damage bonus it gives is pretty low, and you will need to be using a two-handed sword or a two-handed hammer to be able to activate its effects. Unfortunately, despite being two-handed, stabs and bows do not benefit from having the Courageous Totem. Next up in D tier, we have the Iron Defense Totem. The Iron Defense Totem will increase shield block chance and shield defense by a small percentage. While blocking is the trigger to activating other totems, in my opinion, evading and parrying is much better than blocking. Furthermore, the defense you gain from using a shield only applies when you successfully block an attack. Otherwise, it will not have any effect whatsoever. Because of its small increase and very circumstantial use, I am putting the Iron Defense Totem in D tier. Another totem that belongs in D tier is the Martial Arts Totem. The Martial Arts Totem gives a small bonus to your attack damage and your critical strike chance. I have to say that this is a very general buff, and I would put it higher if the bonus wasn't so little. There are many other totems which outshadow either of its effects by a lot, so I am putting it in D tier. For our next D tier, we have the Passionate Totem. So the Passionate Totem will increase the chance of a chain attack upon a critical hit. While chain attacks synergizes really well with a lot of the battle totems, my problem with the Passionate Totem is that it only increases the chance of a chain attack upon a critical hit. And getting critical hits is already pretty rare, and the Passionate Totem only increases the chance of a chain attack when you get a critical hit. That means it's like double rare, which makes it really hard to trigger. Therefore, I think it belongs into D tier. Otherwise, if it always triggers on a critical hit, I think this would be a much higher tiered totem. For our last D tier, we have the Fatal Blow Totem. The Fatal Blow Totem will increase your attack damage on enemies with below a certain percentage of health. While the Fatal Blow Totem does increase a substantial amount of your damage, I find it quite redundant. If you've already lowered the enemy's health into the 10% or 15% range, I'm pretty sure you are more than capable of killing it without the need of another totem. Okay, moving into C tier. Our first C tier is the Surprise Attack Totem. The Surprise Attack Totem increases the damage done by surprise attacks by a decent amount, and it has good synergy with stealth type totems and other battle totems that does more damage on crits or when the enemy is full health. I'm putting it into C tier because this is quite a general buff. It works on any form of damage, including spells, and it can help you kill your enemies faster or even one-shot your enemies. Next up in C tier, we have the Berserk Totem. The Berserk Totem will increase skill energy usage, but it will also increase your skill's damage. The Berserk Totem deserves a spot in C tier because it gives a very general overall buff. It also has great synergy with a lot of the other battle totems that affects skills also. And despite the fact that the Berserk Totem uses up energy, there are many other totems and ways you can recover energy in the game. Next up on the tier list, we have the Parrying Totem. This totem will increase your parry chance by a small percent, and every time you successfully parry an enemy's attack, that enemy will lose 50% of their attack damage. While the increase is pretty low, parrying, unlike blocking, completely negates the damage. Furthermore, because of the totem's effect, successful parries will significantly decrease the enemy's attack. This is especially effective on bosses who have very high amounts of damage and can be life-saving or have a significant impact on a lot of your battles. Next up on C tier, we have the counter attack totem. The counter attack totem is activated upon shield blocks, parries, or evasions and will increase your counter chance and damage by a decent amount. Despite this totem being quite circumstantial, I am putting it into C tier because it can be triggered with the effects of other totems. And the most crucial part is that counterattacks do not use up your turn. So if you counterattack, you're basically doing it on the opponent's turn. Next up in C tier, we have the cheap shot totem. The cheap shot totem will increase your critical strike chance on stunned or bleeding enemies. It gives a decent amount of increase, and in general, crits are pretty powerful. They do double damage, and this can be further increased by other totems. Lastly, on C tier, we have the Spirit Protection Totem. The Spirit Protection Totem has the same triggering requirements as the Counterattack Totem. It triggers upon a shield block, a parry, or evasion, and will recover your energy by a certain percentage. The energy recovered is not a lot, but energy in general is a very useful resource in the game. You can use it for your skills, you use it to gather resources, and you even use it to cast spells. So I'm putting it in C tier. Our first B tier totem is actually the Jagged Blade Totem. The Jagged Blade Totem increases the chance to cause bleed, and it also increases bleed damage. I am putting Jagged Blade Totem in B tier because it affects all sources of damage. This includes all the weapons, spells, bare hands, and even consumable items such as throwing your torch or throwing dynamites. It gives a decent amount of increase to both of its effects, and because it is a common totem, it is quite easy to upgrade, so you can easily improve its effects. Next in B tier, we have the Forestall Totem. The Forestall Totem increases damage when enemies have full health. It gives a very substantial amount. After all, it is a legendary totem, and it is basically like a stronger version of the Surprise Attack Totem. Because the Forestall Totem will do more damage to all enemies at full health, just like the Jagged Blade Totem, its effects works on everything. All weapons, spells, bare fist, consumables. It has great synergy with other totems such as the Surprise Attack and Crit totems. The only reason why I'm putting it in B tier is because its effects wear off after the first hit, or once the enemy is no longer at full health, the Forestall Totem loses all effects. Next up in B tier, we have the Vampire Totem. Unfortunately, I was severely disappointed with this one. At first, I thought the Vampire Totem would give you lifesteal, after all its name is Vampire Totem. But the Vampire Totem actually gives you a chance to recover 5% of your energy when attacking an enemy. The chance for the Vampire Totem to trigger is pretty decent, and because energy is used on all sorts of things, spells, skills, harvesting, you name it. However, once again, because it restores energy and not health, unfortunately it's B tier. If the Vampire Totem gave you lifesteal, straight to S tier. For our last totem in the B tier, we have the Tactical Totem. The Tactical Totem, much like the Spirit Protection and the Counter Attack Totem, will have a chance of triggering when you block an attack, parry an attack, or evade an attack. Its effects will basically reset all of your skills, which I think is pretty powerful, especially in the mid or late game. And my favorite thing about this totem is it allows you to spam your skills. If you trigger this totem enough times, you can basically execute your skills non-stop. You could throw like 6 daggers in 6 turns. You could stun the enemy with your ground smash if you're using a blunt weapon unlimited times, as long as you have the energy and as long as you trigger this totem. The reason why it's in B tier and not any higher, even though it allows you to spam your skills, is once again, it's very circumstantial. It can only be triggered when you shield block, parry, or evade an attack. Next up in A tier, we have 2 totems. The first one is the Guardian Totem. I really wanted to put the Guardian Totem in S tier, but it doesn't quite fit the description of game changing. Still, it is hell of a powerful. So the Guardian Totem increases the armor health bonus by a very big amount. And the thing is, it applies to all non-weapon equipments. This includes cloaks and accessories, even your helmet, your shoes, you name it. Now I'm gonna explain the mechanics of the Guardian Totem for you to get a better appreciation of it. So for example, the Guardian Totem will increase your armor's health bonus by 100%. This is not the actual amount. I'm just putting this as an example so it's easier to visualize. The typical non-enchanted, non-blessed, normal piece of armor increases your health by around 10%. Let's say your character has 100 health. So instead of having 100 health, if you wear this armor, you'll have 110 health. If you equip the Guardian Totem, this 10% will double or increase by 100% into 20%. And now you'll have 120 health. But wait, you have to remember that each character can equip a piece of armor, a helmet, a cape, and 3 accessories. This means if each of these pieces of equipment, the most basic ones with no enchantments, no bonuses whatsoever, will give you 10%, and the Guardian Totem will double it. Instead of having 100 health, if you wear all 6 pieces of armor and have the Guardian Totem, you will have 220 health. This is a very basic example, and you have to remember we're talking about percentages here. So as the player's base health increases, and as your equipment get better and better, the Guardian Totem will become even more effective. You can basically triple or quadruple your player's or your character's health, which is pretty insane amount of increase in my opinion. Now our last totem, which unfortunately is also in A tier, is the Thunderclap Totem. The Thunderclap Totem will give all of your attacks a decent amount chance to stun enemies upon hitting them. Stunning enemies in the middle of battle can be a battle turning mechanic. If you stun a boss, you'll gain an extra chance to heal, to run away, or to hit the boss one more time. And the Thunderclap Totem's effect takes place every time you hit the enemy. So this goes extremely well with totems that will allow you to counter attack, to chain attack, or even if you're dual wielding so you can hit more times. And the only reason why I'm not putting the Thunderclap Totem into S tier is because you know what? I actually can't think of any reason why not to put it into S tier. It does give a substantial amount. It does give a high chance of stunning the enemy. You know what? Yeah, the Thunderclap Totem deserves a spot in S tier. So yeah, there you have it. This is your Battle Totem tier list. Feel free to comment down below on what you think. If you disagree on something, go ahead, type it down. I'll always read it. And please do remember that my tier lists are for my playstyle. Each person might have their own different playstyles, but I tried my best to be as objective as possible. Anyway, I hope you will look forward to the Magic Totem tier list, and as always, till next time.